All right, so here I am with one of the people who actually helped me get started with esports, specifically Smash Bros. I want you to introduce yourself because I think it
Hello,
would be more proper
everybody.
for you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Victor Palacios, but everybody calls me Wiz. I am the owner and founder of GameCrossingLLC, which is a comprehensive youth esports academy. We've been around since 2015. Legally, we've been around since 2016, and we've hosted over 300 tournaments since then. We are the youth organization I believe that everyone is looking to help esports grow here in SoCal specifically for the better. And I'm happy to be here because this gentleman right here is one of the smartest kids I think I know now.
Thanks for the
Right
compliment.
on.
All right, so I just want to ask, how long have you actually been running Smash events for it before we get this all started on this whole thing? Because I think it might be
Let's see.
best to clarify that how come, I want to make sure that I can qualify you for this whole thing, if I may be honest.
So my professional career name or label is I'm an esports platform engineer. I've done national work, I've done local work. I'm working now internationally with people. But I've been running tournaments since 2015 out of my garage. 2016 in August of 2016, we started running them in public venues. And ever since then, since 2016 and now 2021, we've only run them pretty much in public venues.
All right. So yeah, so what I wanted to talk about was the legality of using a Wii remote for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. As I think I've shown you before, where I was able to connect this thing and play with it.
Right,
Like
right,
I'm basically gonna as I have discussed, I use this 8-bit wireless USB
right.
adapter and then
Actually
connected
saw
it.
one. I
Yeah.
saw one on Facebook the other day. They're promoting that on Facebook now.
hmm Yeah,
So
it's a
it's
really good
there.
adapter for like $20 I got this for, and then you could connect like your Xbox controller, your PlayStation 4 controller, even the PS5 controller now with a firmware update, and then you could also connect the Wii controllers to the Switch now with just this adapter here. So it's great. But I want to discuss how I want first off, I have to turn on Pro Controller wire communication for this, and it's been studied and tested that this thing, if you actually were to turn on Switch Pro Controller wire communication, apparently the official Pro Controllers would actually introduce more input delay, and this is still true to this day, which is why I'm actually concerned about it. So, what are your thoughts if I were to actually turn on Switch Pro Controller wire communication just for this thing to work?
If it causes well, if
Like,
you turn it on, is it gonna cause does it cause other sources to I know you said it causes the pro controller to have a sort of a lag.
yeah, so the official Pro Controller, when you actually plug it into the Switch for Switch Pro Controller wired communication, it introduces 1 or 2 frames or more input delay, which is doesn't sound like too much, but then there are going to be those who are sensitive to it and who are
Oh
probably going to
yeah,
be concerned about it. So
we
I want
it's a
your take on what do
competitive
you
sport.
think? If I were to actually if we were to allow this kind of adapter, would you personally think that it should be allowed and having to deal with that limitation? It doesn't affect the GameCube controllers when in my testing.
It doesn't affect the GameCube controller, but does it affect other people's controllers
No,
or just yours that's connected to it?
it's only going to affect the official Switch Pro controller when they're going for the wired communication. So, for example, they just plug in the USB-C cable that came with the Switch Pro
Right.
controller and they plug it in to the Nintendo Switch and just play
Well,
via the wire connection. And
okay.
yeah, so
My thoughts on that would be as long as it doesn't alter someone else's play or their ability to play the game at their best. As long as it doesn't do any of that, I don't see why there would be a I don't see why there would be a problem. The problem because it's the competitor's choice on whether they should uh what kind of controller they feel comfortable with. unless that controller gives that competitor an advantage or alters someone else's connectivity to that console if they are wireless. Because I get it. It's not gonna hurt anything that's wired. Okay. Not only that, then we have to get into the part where what's in that thing. What it if can you modify that thing to capture any information? So that is another concern I would have for a third party adapter like that.
Mhm.
It would be like, okay, what information is it going to be able to obtain via Wi-Fi, via being inserted into that dock, or is it going to bring me a virus to my Switch? That's another thing I would be concerned of. But as far as competitive play, if it doesn't harm anything, and the worst case scenario, it gives 1 to 2 frame lag for the competitor, that's the competitor's like choice. That's their what's the word I'm looking for? That's, I guess, prerogative. That's their business. Like that's for them to know. If does it give somebody an advantage? I don't know, but it depends on maybe there's something that the player likes where, hey, I play better with the 2 frame uh lag than I do with um you know instant 1 millisecond input. That is so my concerns would be what I said, but as far as the competitor using it, I
Mhm.
think that would be up to the competitor. And if TOs were to allow it, it would definitely have to be something that would have to be tried and proven that oh, Radroach is on his way home. Uh Tried and proven before we actually gave it the legalities in tournament play.
I see. All right, that's all great points. Now, I do want to address that all this really does is just like basically convert one controller to be used on one console to another. So that's really all this adapter does. However, you brought up the point where you could actually have to worry about controller remapping. And unfortunately, yeah, in a recent firmware update, they actually, like the company who made this, 8bit actually released a firmware update where now this thing is compatible with their Ultimate software, which if you probably don't know, like the Ultimate software actually allows like button remapping. So we got into that kind of territory where there's going to be concerns about that. So what are your thoughts on like how should we be addressing that if we were to have this controller adapter legal?
Addressing the button remapping.
Correct. Yeah, because you can actually go into the Ultimate software itself for and plug in this adapter and then remap some of the buttons or even and create macros, which is a big problem. However, luckily enough, I have seen that it doesn't actually take in analog stick inputs for the macros. It only takes D-pad inputs for the macro inputs. And along
Okay,
with
so
base buttons.
the D-pad would be button remapping again. As a tournament organizer, my main concern is fair playing field and all inclusive, right?
Hmm.
Fair playing field, all inclusive. Everybody gets to play, and there's no walls that people are going to have to jump over or have an obstacle for them to be able to compete fairly. Button remapping, again, we have to get into that. If it's custom to the player, that should be fine. If you're, like I said, the only way that I would be against the product would be if it alters, gameplay, as far as your competitor being at a disadvantage.
Hmm.
Because again, all inclusive, fair level play games or fair level of gameplay. Um, so button remapping, it's and I'm looking. It's just it says the latest version of Switch's firmware has introduced a button remapping, allowing players to customize what buttons corresponds with what inputs. Um, again, that is the preference of the player, allowing for a greater variety of freedom when grappling with the controller for each game. So it's definitely based on the comfortability of the player. I mean, you're not altering the actual controller itself, like the hardware. It's still the same layout. We'll just take my controller. I don't wait. Actually, I got this one. I'm trying to make it work, but maybe I should give it to you. It's one of these guys.
Oh, I see.
It's called a Moga, a
Oh, I
Mogar,
mean,
or Moger.
Moga, like mobile
Um,
controllers.
yeah, I tried to make it work with my phone. It works. Like it responds to inputs, but like it doesn't like it's not. How should I say? Um, it doesn't work for a lot of games. Just like football, I think is the only one it worked for.
Hmm.
Okay, so being able to remap the buttons, right? Meaning like this trigger button could be the A button, correct?
Yeah, like so like those are the light macros. I think like we all can agree that like something like that is perfectly fine. However, like when we're talking about the hard macros, like such as like automatically doing a quarter circle motion at the touch of a button, for example, like doing down,
So the
diagonal,
what
forward,
kind of
and
motion?
push. So like for example, the down, diagonal, forward motion, and then pressing a
Uh-huh.
button at the same time, it's all done on one
Gotcha.
button
Gotcha.
instead.
No, no, no.
That is
Yeah, no,
like
I
that.
don't
We're
think
definitely
I
gonna be
don't
banning
like that.
those.
I don't
Yeah.
like
So
that, especially if it's
yeah,
like Street Fighter. Like,
yeah,
say we take
because
Street Fighter as a
yeah, because
like now that I understand it,
yeah. Yeah, because
the
apparently that's what this adapter can offer with it because that's what one of the main concerns about this adapter was, in my opinion. And I think like we should be able to like identify it because the ultimate software is free to download and we can just easily plug it in and check it if for any macros and we can easily delete those macros if we actually are able to.
yeah. See, and I'm glad you had this conversation with me because I'm an FGC kid from 1996,
Hmm.
95, 95, 96, 1995, 96. I've been playing these games, the FGC games forever. Sega Genesis. I have a Sega Genesis behind me, an original Sega Genesis on the big TV back there. Um, Being able to do the down forward, or I mean the roll to forward Hadoukens with Ken and Ryu, and then just and being able to bypass that with one button, it takes away from the game.
Hmm.
It's not good for the game because you need to learn those role inputs. You need to learn the button sequence because
Hmm.
that's what FGC is about. It's one on one, mono e mono, uh, speed and button sequence. That's FGC in a nutshell when it comes to the gameplay. It's your ability to react as a fighter one on one and understanding the input sequences that are needed in certain situations. It's a boxing match.
Hmm.
It's a digital boxing match, and if your opponent makes a move, you have to be able to counter. But if be able to counter with just bypassing three button sequences and having that in one button input, that for me that takes away from the game. It takes away from the competitor, and it 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 it, it it's easier up here when it
Hmm.
should be harder up here. It should mentally challenge you versus making it easier. Everybody wants to get faster at the game. Everybody wants to get faster at any game, especially fighting games.
Hmm.
Um, could I see a tournament that allows those type of devices and having maybe like 20 players just with those that want to compete with that device itself? I could see that happening and doing like a side game, but it being in tournament play, it just takes away from the game for me. It takes away from real grassroots, and I can see where real grassroots individuals get mad at this because they've worked so hard, especially like Melee. Imagine
Hmm.
Melee being played with a one input, or I mean, the button remapping and having dash dance with one button. Like it doesn't that everybody can dash dance because not everybody can dash dance.
Yeah, and
So it
I completely agree because like I personally think those kinds of remappings should be outright banned. Like there's not like it gives too much of an advantage to one player and it's over the other, and since they don't have the same device as well. Oh,
yeah. But I do see a side event. Like if you were like, say, Vorile's like, you know what, Wiz, I really want to do like a tournament with this controller and I want to see how many people are out there. That would be something cool to research and see if you could find a community that would be interested and then say,
mhm,
hey, dude, TGG's having this thing and
yeah.
Wiz got this side event going. Like, I mean, anything could happen. But as far as
Yeah.
like competitive play, man, like, yeah, I wish I could beat Larry Lur and Void and Charlie the King and and Prodigy, and I wish I could beat those guys one day. And like that controller could probably help. But it's not fair. It's not fair to those guys, and I could see where grassroots guys could get get mad at that, because it just takes away from all the hard work that they went through, and button sequence discovery and all that. So it takes away from that. So it kind of puts a black like Sharpie marker over all the history of Smash, and how movement has come along, especially like frame data and everything. But yeah, so that's what I'd say about that. But I did see those things. That's interesting. That I didn't know you were gonna show me that today. Like,
Yes. There's also another thing with this adapter. Like, I think, like, you already mentioned it, like, because the Switch itself, like, ever since the 10.0 update it came out, like, you can actually remap the controller itself in the Switch settings. So I want to bring up something like about it, like, and I'm gonna that I introduced in the video, is that, like, because you can actually do that within the Switch settings itself, like, you can remap this. You can now actually try to remap the controller like how it was in Smash 4 and Brawl, where you actually have the D-pad as your movement. The A, B buttons are inputs you can assign, and 1 and 2. However, because like this also reads as a Pro controller, and you might have probably noticed this, is that the minus button was also used back in the Wii remotes for Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and Brawl. So
right.
what are we, if we allow the players to actually just remap it so that one button to be an input, so that could be assigned to get very close to how it was back in Smash Bros. Wii U and through like Smash Bros. Wii U and Brawl, with having that minus button being mapped, and we can use that as well. What are your
Okay.
thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that are this: those players would have to be, if that was allowed.
Mhm.
And I just had the thought right now, if that was allowed, just say it was allowed, every single player with that with that with that type of controller and adding that input to the minus button, those players would have to be either watched during their matches by a pool captain or tournament organizer, uh and prior to them, they would have to do like a button inspection prior to every single match or game they played, because I know people want to win. And even if they came to the TO and said, "Oh, I'm going to do a button check with you with my wiimote controller that I'm going to use, and I've added the input to the minus button." TO goes and watches him do the input display. TO walks away. The guy changes his input scheme, and now he may have the ability to cheat within the game or the match. Just saying. I'm just kind of throwing what ifs out there.
Yeah, so here's the thing about like the Switch Pro controller, like the Switch remapping itself, is that you can only remap buttons. There's no hard macros like where you can do easy quarter circles or something like that. It's only just remapping locations of buttons. So, for example, like if you were more comfortable with pressing, like for example, like you're not comfortable with the Switch Pro controller layout for the ABXY, and you're more comfortable with something like Xbox, and then they just remap it so that way they're more comfortable with that. For example, that's all it really can do. That's all
it really can do.
Yeah, that's all the Switch Pro control. But that's all the Switch in-game, in-system button mapping can do. That's all it can do. Nothing else. Well, however, there is the issue where it can duplicate inputs, so you can have 2 A button presses as well.
Interesting.
And here's the worst part about it. I have another controller on me. Like, let me see if I can grab this out real quickly. Like, I have a bunch of third-party controllers, like, such as this PDP or Fight Pad, right? Or even like the Power Egg, or even these Power Egg controllers. Here's the problem, and where I want to actually make this big distinction between these. Apparently, the Switch can actually identify that these are officially licensed third-party controllers, and the Switch will not, and I repeat, not allow it. Yeah, so like those controllers is holding. The Switch will not allow you to remap them in the Switch button mapping itself. I've been personally against the idea of like saying like we should allow the Switch in-game in-system button mapping itself. Well, since not every single controller can take advantage of it, such as these controllers, for
Right.
example. Because if I were to plug this in and plug this into the Switch, it's apparent, and you go to the Switch settings and you try to go change button mappings, you'll see that the Switch will not allow them to be used. It was for remapping the buttons. You can
Okay.
only do like whatever input mapping you have, such as this Power A controller where you have back paddles you can map any button to. That's it. No hard macros such as easy quarter circles or anything like that. So what do you think about that if I were, since I want to bring that up? Considering
Is
that,
that you're still talking about the Wiimote, or are
yeah,
we
we're
on
still
to
talking
these
about the
third party
Wiimote
ones?
because
Okay.
while this adapter can take advantage of the Switch Pro of the Switch
Can I mean,
in
let me
system button
ask you,
mapping
what is the
itself.
percentage?
Yeah.
What is the
So
percentage that you would think that would actually use the Wiimote
what?
in tournament play? Because
Here's the.
like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest. I'm
go
gonna be
ahead.
honest, and this might be bad for me to say, but like I've moved on. Like mentally, I've moved on from Smash drama. I guess that is the only way I
Yeah.
could say it. I've moved on from the
Per.
Smash drama. I
I
don't
completely
all
get
the
you.
people that not all,
Hmm.
selected individuals that I put on pedestals, I do not put people on pedestals anymore. I learned my lesson, and I don't put them on pedestals anymore.
Hmm.
The people that I do put on pedestals though are the future, the the players of the future. The guys from the past, they did a lot for this industry, and some of the guys are still around, and they're great individuals, they're great players. But
Hmm.
mentally, I've moved on because grassroots has already been established in Smash. We know who the grassroots people are. Now it's time for the transition for the future. And a lot of these kids in the future, they use pro controllers. They use a lot of them don't even use Smash GameCube controllers. They use pro controllers or these third party
Yeah, I'm one of them who
wired
uses a Pro
ones.
controller.
And I'm even coming, I teach high school, and some of these kids are, when I was teaching it in the classroom, they'd show up and they're like, "Oh, I got my Wiimote or my Joy Cons," and I'm like, "What?"
Yes.
Wait a minute, put that thing away. We're not using Joy Cons. Pro gamer, best high school SoCal Pac-Man right now. When I first started playing him and I introduced him to esports and Smash, in the beginning, when he was a freshman, he literally played with the Joy-Con grip
Oh yeah.
and Joy-Cons, Joy-Con grip
Mhm.
and Joy-Cons, and that's how he played. Now he plays with a pro controller.
Yeah.
But I don't know, unless specifically a 40-year-old man or 35-year-old man that has kids that are coming up, specifically give them a Wii remote and say, "Here you go. This is going to be your controller." So the percentages of people that actually are going to want to do this is going to be really, really, really a small number. Like
Yeah.
I would say less than 0.005% of the
But
nation.
I don't.
But
Go ahead.
it's an interesting subject to talk about because guys like you're not the only guy that thinks like this. There are
There's
maybe
probably
a
like many.
handful,
Yeah. There's probably maybe
a
more than like
handful of people out
100.
there.
Like I
Yeah,
see.
there's
Like I've been getting comments like in Discord messages once in a while, like about me connecting a Wiimote and how do I actually set it up and if I want to act and why I decided to do it. Like I've been still getting messages about this once in a while.
I think, like I said, I think you have, like my shirt says, man, like I think you're one of these people. Like you and also Shafo, GC Shafo, same type of mental. Like you guys like to dissect. You guys like to get as much information as you can out of the product that you're dealing with and the possibilities of altering that product. You are 100% an engineer. 100%. I mean, you're what you do is great. Shafo's the same way. Shafo will put on Smash and do 8-player Smash and literally write down all the percentages of knockback at certain times for each character, for all 8 characters during during the CPU playing itself. You know, it's like, who does that? Like, not very small percentage. I'm not saying Chapeau's the only one, and you're not the only one. There are a handful of people out there that do the same thing, but that's special. And these questions need to be brought up, because what if there is that kid that shows up that's like, I've
Exactly.
never been to a tournament before. I've been practicing for a year, you know, and I barely got out of the house. This is my first day, my first time ever seeing daylight. And I showed up to a tournament, and they tell me I can't use my wiimote. And like, you know, like, if it alters gameplay or puts a disadvantage to the opponent, then it can't be allowed. But if it can be proven that it's only adding an extra button, and someone may be comfortable. I'm going to give you another example of a person that I know, grassroots individual, one of the best commentators in Smash, Strides, 2GG Strides. His remote control usage from Brawl to Smash 4, he used the Wiimote and a nunchuck to play, and he was very good. So it was allowed at that time, but now, like you said, there's firmware updates. There's things that allow you to remap buttons. So like, this is all something new to the tournament scene as well. And like I said, I'm glad that you bring this up, because guys like me that run tournaments, Troy Stafford from PAL Gaming, 2GG, who else is out there? Who else is running tournaments anymore? I know there's a couple guys that are doing online stuff, but as far as like offline, there's an offline that's happening in Riverside. There's an offline that's happening right here in Anaheim every week. You know, those two tournament individuals, I'm not actually, they're running tournaments. Like, they're providing some for offline, which a lot of these guys are super hungry about it. Right now, my place in running tournaments right now is, I'm a soldier of the TGG family. Like, I ride and fight for the grassroots individuals. My company is right next to them, partnered with them. You know, they support a lot of stuff that we do. You see Rad Roach and Mighty Man now on their channel, streaming and presenting graphic arts and doing commentary. Like, running tournaments right now, like, I'll give it to the guys that don't really care. Like, they just want to run tournaments. I get it. There's guys out there, and the guys that are doing it right now, they're young. You know, they haven't run 100 tournaments yet. So like, you know, when you start to get more underneath your belt, people start to look at you and respect you a little bit more. I'm happy that they're offering something, but I also have to say, like, okay, like, why are you doing it right now? Like, are you just doing it to try to get your name out early? Or you know, I mean, really, are you making $5? I mean, like, you're not making a ton of money. They're giving out $100, I think. So that would make if they did $100, then they got to figure out something with the bar venue. I don't know. You know, it's not worth it for $40. I mean, I'm not actually, no, I'm going to reverse that. For years, I threw tournaments for free. Like, I made no money for years because I would have to buy food for people and transportation, all that stuff. But guys that are throwing tournaments right now, like, they haven't sacrificed that yet. Until you get to having nothing and keeping going off of nothing, and still be here, you know, that earns a respect. But right now, those guys are just hosting tournaments. Those guys, I don't even think they would care, or they would even want to look into it that far right now. But as far as larger organizations, Thunder Gaming, Esports Arena, 2G Gaming, you know, Game Crossing, like, that's something we would have to definitely evaluate, and probably do some side testing to see if you know, we have to find out what can go wrong. You know, if you have to disconnect and connect from the Switch, which you would have to, we have that issue with the Pro controller, right? Like, people walking away, they're still connected to the stupid Switch. So,
like, there's so many solutions now that have came out, and that now, like, Pro controller, like, there's controversy about the Pro controller being banned at Smash tournaments has been long gone like has been long gone. Ever since like there's been a bunch of solutions showing how to truly disconnect them and make sure they won't ever reconnect.
That's something I'm actually going to add into my rule set. I'm going to add the proper procedure to disconnect your your wireless controller from
Hmm. Switch.
from the tournament setup, because I honestly think they should add in universally, like you should get a warning and then and then a disqualification. If it happens twice, you need to be disqualified, especially if it's like stream setup.
Mhm.
But that's what I think, because but see, if you do that too, like I deal with kids, like you get a Mighty Man started competing at age 9, you know, and if he and but he's competed on grassroots stuff on GC controller. His first controller is super beat up, by the way,
Mhm.
when he bought it. It was chewed up by a dog and like he just played with it. Anyways, um, you know, dealing with younger kids, what happens? They forget. Like they forget. You know, as many times as I've had kids in my house, in my classes, and when we've done stuff in my garage, how many times, or even at the school, they walked away from the laptops and they didn't sign out of their Discord, they didn't sign out of their Facebook, they didn't sign out of things, and that's just their them being young. But you know that could be a concern too. Is like, you know, how how do we establish good etiquette when it comes to using those controllers for people that are using them? Like, you know, what's the etiquette? Are you do you just get a slap on the hand every time you don't disconnect and it messes with someone's set, or do we put in a disclosure or whatever saying, hey, uh, two incidents with you not disconnecting, you're gonna be disqualified from the tournament or whatever.
Mhm.
But all right, so yeah, like as far as this the Wiimote, my answer right now would be no,
Mhm.
until we did more research in regards to what it actually can do. Because I haven't touched a Wiimote. I don't know. I mean, the last time I'm gonna be honest, the last time I touched a Wiimote was probably like 3 weeks ago when I cleaned out my garage and I was setting up the Wii out there. When the last time I actually played with the remote with the Wiimote, actually played with one, it's probably been like 2-3 years. It's been a while. So you know, like I said, it's definitely has to be. It's going to be something that it should be researched, because um, it does give an option, but how much time do we want to put in it? Because how many people are actually playing the remotes? So that's that. Those are the things you do. But am I willing to put a little time into it? Absolutely. Like absolutely. If it can bring more people to a tournament and you know, give somebody the opportunity to have as much fun as we do at offlines, what's it really about? It's not about the dollar for me. You know, money. I mean, I have a job in esports. I'm an educator in esports. I have a career. I own my own company. Um, I sell video games. You know, I do a lot of things, but the money from game crossing, uh, it's game crossings, but um you know, like putting the time into it, you know, I'm not losing anything out of it. I'm, if anything, I'm gaining an opportunity to bring in more people. And then, you know, maybe 10 years down the line, if Game Crossing has uh 10 zeros in its bank account, you know, with an actual number at the beginning, that would be great, you know, like, but it takes a lot of work to get this far, especially with us trying to wait for esports to catch up to us. But you know, as far as this, man, I mean, I would love to see. I mean, I can have you talk with Troy Stafford. He runs PAL Gaming. They're actually having an offline crew battle. I believe it's this Saturday or this Saturday. I think it's in Whittier. Um, I'll look again. May 1st. Yeah, it's this Saturday. Um, and I might end up going to that. I might end up going to that. Radwich is trying to call me, so I'm gonna message him on Discord real quick. And start to get used to the offline play.
would you like me to pause the recording so that way you
No,
can
no, you're good.
adjust?
You're good. With no, I just messaged him to Discord. He'll message me back. No biggie. All right. So yeah, like I can definitely put you in front of another TO or couple. I would definitely run this by JMX. I would definitely personally run it by JMX and say, hey, I got someone that's asking about wiimotes. Like, what are your thoughts? And if you'd be interested in an interview, like I'm supposed to be interviewing him. Uh, I'm supposed to be interviewing him soon. So that could be something I can incorporate into the interview, maybe bringing you in for like 10 minutes and saying, hey, look, he's got questions. You wanna answer the questions, and we could do
Yeah, that would
that. I
be
mean,
yeah, that would be really helpful for me also with creating this video because I definitely want to make this more informative about like not only just setting up like it starts off as a setup guide, of course, and then I'm gonna also address like its like tournament legality, considering people probably might want to actually take this meme for another level. Like
yeah.
how
I
there are
mean,
some memers out there who want to do it.
yeah. I don't mind like putting time in and testing it. Like I said, from my mental point of view and perspective of the situation and the environment and the industry, the ecosystem. Um, I'm here just to give people opportunity, man. And if there's opportunity to add to the scene, I'm pretty much for it. But if like I said, if it creates a disadvantage to competitive play, that's kind of like a stab in my taking a knife to my heart, man. I'm like,
Mhm.
it's got to be fair, man. And you got to walk away under
Yeah.
knowing that if you won, you walk away victorious and you're proud, your head's up. You lost,
Mhm.
you got to suck up your pride. You live to fight another day, and you learn from your mistakes. Um, if there's any type of disadvantage in there, it's like you can't really like you can't have those feelings because then if you're the victor, you can't walk away proud because you cheated. And cheating is a big word in my house. We don't use that word. We don't use that word really a lot. Cheating in my house is like saying the F word in my house.
Mhm.
And it's a bad word to me. Like, you want to call somebody a cheater, you better have some good proof, because that's basically your that's like the ultimate word that in competitive gaming. Like, if you call somebody a cheater, you better be ready to back up your statement. I'd say back in the day I'd punch you in the face, but if you called me a cheater, but today you can't do that. Like, you can't be physical like that. You have to
Mhm.
prove things with credibility
Mhm.
and backing and back proper backing. But yeah, man, like, can it be legal? Yeah. Are you gonna have memers? Yeah. Are you gonna have people that cringe? Yeah. But in all, it's like those people don't have the vision to see that it comes down to it. It's a game.
Mhm.
It's a game. But in certain situations, we have to put in proper rule sets and allow proper equipment. So, and everyone should be able to have this argument like you're bringing towards to me about a piece of equipment. Everyone should have that right, and
Mhm.
everyone should take advantage of that right. If you have a question, the TOs are the perfect ones to go to, because you never know. You might change Smash for the better.
Mhm.
And if it doesn't change it, then at least what you tried, right? Worst
Mhm.
anybody could said it was no, and you have some good content to put out.
Yeah. So, oh, I do want to also bring up that like because the FGC itself like already has been in a bunch of controversy with the controllers, specifically like mixed box and hitboxes, for example. Like
Hitbox,
there's been a
yeah,
bunch of
right.
those, and then like there's also people I've seen in the FGC who actually play with an Xbox controller on the PlayStation console using a certain adapter, and those adapters have been proven tournament legal. So maybe one day, yeah, we might see that it's possible that people can just bring in certain adapters like these for and play them on for the consoles. Because I saw like one tournament, they actually allowed one person to play with an Xbox One controller for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate on, and they were connecting using this specific adapter in mind, which is called Mayflash
Right.
Magic NS. And all it really does is just allow one controller to be used on another console,
So,
and that's it. There's
right.
nothing else. There's nothing fancy about it. They
Right.
still had to turn on Pro Controller wire communication, which was a bit of a concern for some people, but it wasn't too bad in the end. And most of the people I've seen, they're completely fine with it. And so
Yeah,
maybe
I
one
think I
day.
think yeah, I think the more you play with it and record it, and show the credibility behind it. Hey
Mhm.
guys, like, what are the concerns you have? And then you're like, okay, I have a video on that. And say they say something, I don't know, well, what if it's wireless and it could be open source and da, da, da. Well, here's I did a video on this, and it proves that there's no worry behind someone else being able to randomly just sign or link into the adapter randomly during a tournament. That those are things that I just have to be proven by credibility. And now that we have video recording, like you're doing right now, and being able to even use the Elgato and the Switch and be able to use OBS and then be able to show the gameplay while you're speaking it and showing a camera on the controller, those things are necessary, behind the credibility of your argument. So if these naysayers or the people that cringe or want to make a meme out of it or whatever, think you're nuts, you credibility is everything. If you can prove
Mhm.
it, it shuts people up. It just shuts them up and then it goes
Mhm.
away. Um, and then but yeah, so I think work at it, keep fighting for the Wiimote guys.
I'm one of them because I was actually a wiimote nunchuck user back in Smash for Brawl and Wii U and 3. Yes, but even then, like I was learning because like when I heard Ultimate was coming out, I eventually had to learn to switch over controller. So that's why I ended up picking up the Pro controller. And like I was originally using Wiimote nunchuck, and I even entered like my first tournament was with you guys at Don't Park on the Grass. Like don't smash them out of the park, really. Like
Smash
smash
them
them
out
out
of
of
the
the park.
park. Yeah,
Yeah,
smash
and
them
then
out
that
of
was
the
the
park.
first one I did. Like I brought a Wiimote nunchuck, and then I was playing with it. But then, like in the middle of the set, I actually swapped controllers. I think you pretty much remember that one, like where I just
Yeah, yeah, I remember. Yeah,
yeah, I swapped
man.
controllers in the middle of the set. I think I was the only one at the tournament who ever actually did that completely. Because
Yeah, I think so too, man. Like, yeah, man, let's bring back some good memories, man. We had a good like 3-year run, man, at Out of the Park Pizza. We were hosting tournaments every weekend there, man. That was great.
yeah,
We had some really great players come through there too. Elegant. We had that Jason
mhm,
Surge grand
yeah,
finals, or Surge beat him finally, and
mhm,
everybody popped off. Glug's been there. I mean, Ellis, we had I mean,
yeah,
a lot of kids, Nintendo. Nintendo was a kid who,
mm,
well, when he was a kid, um, now he's like
yeah,
number one duck hunting in the nation, number two in the world, placed, I believe it was
mhm,
like 35th or 25th at
mm,
Evo. Like, that guy came out of the game crossing community, and
mm,
like some of the best players in the world, I think, as youth players or just like young players under the age of 21, um, they all came out of game crossing. And SoCal is the best players in the nation. I don't care what anybody says. We are the strongest region in this nation. When it comes to strongest region, I think Mexico might have that.
mm.
Mexico might have that title right now, man. They love Smash, dude. They love Smash. Smash is crazy is crazy, crazy, crazy in Mexico. They don't okay. They don't play, man. They have huge, huge tournaments, and they do them outside, man. They do wherever they can get power, and just like how 2GG did it out here. Wherever they can get power and make it work, man, they made it work, and that's Mexico. But yeah, they got some of the best players. I think they'd be leading the world right now is Mexico. There's a lot of key people in Mexico people don't even know about, and just wait, because
Yeah,
they're just right across the border. They'll make it up
Like,
here.
like it reminds me of like Arslan Ash's tale. Like he's a Pakistani Tekken player, and then he came out of the wood. Like he came out and just went to Evil Japan, destroyed everyone, and won Evil Japan. And then and then after that, like he's got a big name, and then he also came to Evo in the U.S. And then now, like he also won Evo for Tekken 7 again in the US this time. And then like now
Yep.
Pakistan is now like considered a big terrifying region to deal with for the Tekken scene. So
Yeah, I saw that last time. Yeah, I did saw that. I watched that. Like, yeah, I mean, game esports themselves, esports itself. It's like, man, how many opportunities are going to be out there, worldly opportunities for everybody. People are understanding to take advantage now. Like, wow, fighting games are a thing. Like, most of my students that I teach in the high school sector, they don't even know what FGC is. They're like, what's FGC? And I'm like, that's the fighting game community, man. That's Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Blaze Blue, Killer Instinct, Smash. They're like, what? And then I show them video of Evo, and they're like, what? And then I show them the videos of Esports Arena inside the Luxor, and they're like, these places exist. I'm like, man, there's a college just right down the street, University of California, Irvine, that has an arena that they're building a stadium, like Dodger Stadium. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is everything I want to do. I said, man, you have no idea where esports is at. Guys like Virile, guys like the Wiz that are getting in, that have been in the scene and understand grassroots and understand what the possibilities of moving forward in the niches that we are a part of. Like Vorile's, his niche is hardware modification, software, modification of controllers, dissecting things, re-engineering consoles to make them work. Like that's his niche. Niche. That's your niche. There's jobs there for you. There's money there for you, and you can do something you love for the rest of your life. Me, I started in my garage. I knew esports was going to be a thing. Like, I just saw the happy place for a lot of people, and I wanted to be a part of that. And then I understood now that, oh wow, they're gonna it can be transitioned into an educational curriculum. Let me write one. Let me do all the things that I proved out of my garage and in the public venues with kids completely performing full-on tournaments with live streams in college venues and public venues, Pomona, Fairplex, LA County. Like, let me write curriculum. And I did, and it worked. And I was able to keep pushing into it. Now I'm credentialed and certified as a career tech ed instructor for esports career platform development. And I'll be coaching a high school team in the fall. So, like, esports, whether it's creating video for a wiimote or fixing a broken new Super Nintendo console or practicing commentary on a video game that's competitive, or understanding how to stream produce, or just being a educator and helping people understand the pathways and the visions that they can create for themselves for success in this industry. There are many pathways, and talking about a Wiimote is one of them. It's just simple as that. It's just you creating the content for the industry to get better or just have more knowledge.
Yeah. All right. So my final question here is, like, I think you probably already addressed this, but would you personally allow this to be used at your events for either experimenting, or do you think like it's just not allowed outright? What would you say? Like, would you personally allow this to be allowed at your events?
I would say right off the bat, no. But my immediate response to that would be, bring it to a tournament, and I will have 5 or 6 guys play against you. And we'll have somebody monitor the input and see if anything looks different, goes wrong. If you're blowing everybody away, then that may cause concern, because like you're a decent player, but like I don't see like blowing everybody away, 3-stocking everybody and walking away with the Wiimote. Like, dude, I did it. No, I don't see that happening, but I would definitely put the time in, and it would literally take one event to show up, or we can actually put you against people using that device, and then just make our own decision. And every tournament that you play in does not have the same rule sets. They don't all have the same rule sets. I have the same rule set as 2GG only because that is our mentor company, and they're to us, they are the goats of Smash, period. So I follow and I give them advice. They take advice, from things that I say. They take it into consideration to applying it to their platform. So that to me is an honor just in itself. But I would say no, but I would give it a testing day. I would test it just because I'm almost obligated to test it just because I'm a tournament organizer. Why can't, like you said, my two goals are all inclusive and fair playing field. And if this still adds an option for people to be able to play and they're not comfortable with the GC remote or the pro controller, they're not comfortable with those and they like having a stick in their hand, or a bar in their hand and playing with that. If that's something that they're comfortable with, then why shouldn't we allow it if it does meet all the specifications that keep the playing field fair? If it once it rises 0.01 above that scale of it being fair and unfair, then I would ban it. But if it stays playing, if it keeps the playing field level, and there's no advantage to the person with the Wiimote, and there's no disadvantage with the person that it doesn't have the Wiimote, then I would consider it and say, you know what, these can be played, because how many players are actually going to be using this? Probably very little. Maybe I may see one in a year, and maybe a little couple more if it's openly open or if it's open, if it's available to be played with at bigger events like Evo or like Genesis or something like that. Then you would see a couple more, but I'm all for trying to see if it works in a tournament setting. But like I said, if you're going through people and three stocking everybody, then it's obvious the thing is cheating.
Cheating.
So, and proof is in the pudding, man. Like the proof is in the pudding. Rod Roach and I always say the proof is in what you can be credible for, and if you're credible to show that it's fair and it should be legalized, then what option does the TO have? I mean, but TOs, they make their own rules. They can ban or unban it. It's up to the TO. But for my platform, I don't know what I just had another thought. Me as an adult and a educator and inspirer of Smash kids playing Smash. If I ever walked into a venue and I saw a kid with a Wiimote, I'd probably go up to his parents like, "How long have you been playing with that? How long? Why is he playing with that?" Like I would probably ask those questions. I'm not afraid to ask questions to random people, but I would do a little more research. Like, who put that controller in his hands? He probably should be working with a better controller, and that would be my concern. But but like I said, I'm in all in the conversation we've had today. Like I would try it. I wouldn't allow it up front. Because I've had people ask me if they could bring hitboxes and stuff, and I was like, no, I'm not going to allow it. Until we can fully prove that that it's all good. But this was a while back. But yeah, I'm open for trying it, but for the percentages that I would see actually come in with one of those, it'd be very minimal. But for the argument, like I think it's great content.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm proud of you. I definitely am proud of you for just having that spark of thought. And like, I'm just gonna argue.
Yeah, 'cause maybe you'll see me with this, and I'll bring it to the tournament, and I'll just kick people, and I'll just try to kick people's butt with it.
I think it would be if you started kicking butt with it, it'd be a crazy enigma. Like people would be like, "What's going on over here? Why? Let's go watch this Wiimote guy." Like and like seriously, like that's a highlight for me in an event. Like say we at a saga or something, and you got this kid blowing through people with a Wiimote, and you're like, "Dude, this is sick." Like, what's going on? But then you're gonna have I want his vitals checked. Draw blood. I want to see if it's red or blue. Like, there's nothing wrong with the kid, man. Just what's up with the remote? Yeah. So, I don't know, man. Like, like I said, I would say no right off the bat, but I would definitely give it an opportunity to prove me wrong. You know, I don't mind being proven wrong, and if I am proven wrong, I'm not going to I'm not going to fight it. I'm going to say, hey, dude, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. You're right. I'm wrong. Let's let it ride, and we'll bring it in, and we'll go from there.
So, like, I just want to make sure, like, would you say that you would allow this to be experimented at your events, or just like
I
not?
would allow it. I would allow it to be experimented, but not in tournament play. It would have
Yeah,
to be like a side thing where
yeah,
we have players, and I would ask that you allow other people to play with the remote so they
yeah,
can see themselves, because I can
yeah.
tell you the sandwich. I can tell you the sandwich I'm going to make you. It's going to be the best sandwich you've ever tasted in your entire world. It looks great. It looks like a sandwich. But then if I don't get to taste it, and I'm just, if I don't get to
Yeah,
taste that sandwich, we're both looking at the same sandwich and it looks tasty. I don't get to taste that sandwich to see what it's actually the
yeah,
value of deliciousness it may have,
mhm,
and you only get to do that, then that would be unfair. So I would also ask that the person would allow other people to play with the controller, and you would explain, oh, well, this is substituting for this button. So you would have to use it this way. And then let's see if they feel anything, because then it's open game. Like, okay, the person who brought it already understands the remote. Now we need to get people who don't understand the remote, and then let them get to understand the remote so they can either be confident that the remote's valid and it's legit, or they can say, you know what, this just doesn't feel right in the gameplay. Like, there's something
mhm,
wrong here. It's not right. And that would be obviously, I would say, well, elaborate on that.
okay,
Elaborate on that. And I'm not just going to say I don't like it and take that from people. I would want them to explain, hey, explain to me why. Why does it feel weird? Why? I don't tell me because of the hardware layout. We all know it's a bar. It's not a
yeah,
controller. It's a
because
bar.
it's kind of like saying
But
like
as far as the button input, huh?
it's kind of like saying like using a controller for a fighting game doesn't feel right because it's not like an arcade stick. Like that is the like we're gonna like say that that's not a valid argument at all. Like we'll
Right.
straight up
I
already
don't
say
even
that.
play Street Fighter with the controller. If
Yeah,
if I do play Street Fighter with the controller, I play
like
Street Fighter
like yeah,
Hyper Edition on my SNES,
like
and I have to use
yeah, like we're just
the
getting off
tap.
topic, but like I'm saying, like
Oh yeah, yeah.
because like we're not just judging layout basically, we're judging how it actually would feel basically. Like if I feel like I'm cheating, or am I basically just like am I just playing fair with
Right,
it?
right. Right. So that's what I would do. I would say, um, no, but I would definitely allow you to bring it to be experimented, and have other people be able to use it so they can make a decision, and then tell me the feedback. And once the feedback's given, then we make a decision whether it's a fly or it's a fail.
All right. And that's all I got for this thing. And thank you so much, Wizard, for coming down and let me talk to you about this whole thing. Because this is definitely an interesting conversation I wanted to bring up. And hey, maybe we got someone who really wants to do this and just wants to bring this in. And I'm not like technically I would be open to it and say that it should be allowed, but I'm not the one who people should be going to. I think like higher ups like who have more experience than I do would be more valid to say what should be allowed and what's not. So thank you for
Right,
that.
right. It's up to every TO, man, any TO. But I really
Yeah,
appreciate you reaching out to me and asking me to have
yeah,
this interview with you and talk about hardware, because it's important. Everyone should have an option, and if it's a legal option, it can be legalized, and we need to look into it. So thank you very much for bringing the topic.
mhm,
Follow us at GameCrossingLLC on all social medias. We play Smash. We play all kinds of. We do League of Legends, Overwatch, all kinds of games, and we have a lot of young streamers and stream coordinators and graphic art designers that are coming up, especially in the young ages. Last thing I'll say is we welcome any high school challenges. We have the best Pac-Man in SoCal for high schoolers, and we have the best junior high inkling in Mighty Man. So come challenge and come see what we have. Thank you very much for having me.
hey, no problem. And thank you for sitting down and talking with me about this whole thing. I really do appreciate it. And please do follow Game Crossing like on their socials it's Twitter or Twitch, it's Instagram. Even get them to subscribe on their YouTube channel where they do
Thank
upload
you.
all their stuff. All right, that's gonna be it for this recording. I'm gonna stop it right now. Is that all right?
All right, man. Cool, cool.